Hi, everyone. We'll begin at exactly 3 o'clock, 6 minutes to go, just waiting for participants to join. We are with you and we'll begin shortly. Thank you so much. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another of our webinars in the series, The Researcher Toolbox. My name is Daneshri Modli, and I will be one of the co-hosts for the session today, which addresses Scopus and advancing your research process using the advanced tools and enhanced features of Scopus as a database. So today we are very lucky and privileged to have two of the senior product team members from Scopus presenting. That is Priyanka Kalra and Bisan Rafe Das. So I'm going to hand over to them as we have just an hour for the session. If any of the participants have any questions, the chat box is open for you, but I would encourage you to please use the Q&A box because your questions might get lost in the chat as more people join. So over to the presenters. Yeah.
Thank you, Daneshri. Hi, I'm Priyanka, and I'm hoping that Bisan might share her screen for the presentation.
Yeah, I can do that.
Perfect. Thank you, Bisan.
No problem. So maybe we can start with a round of introduction first, and then I can hand it to you.
Of course, I think that's a good idea. I had a small introduction slide in the PPT too, but I can go. So as Daneshri very kindly introduced me and Bisan, we are both product managers for Scopus.com, and we work on different parts of the product. And today we will be very happy to share with you on things that are available, new, and maybe also upcoming that can help you work with Scopus.com better. And that's me. I'm Priyanka. Again, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box, and we will share more information with you in a minute.
All right, and I'm Bisan. I'm product manager for Scopus. I'm mainly concerned with Scopus web search. And without further ado, I will hand it over to Priyanka, and I will share my screen.
Thank you, Bisan.
Wait, wrong screen. Let me share this one and the slideshow. Okay, we should be good to go.
Thank you, Bisan. Could you move on to the next slide already?
Yeah.
Thank you. So as mentioned, we will be sharing some things with you today, and some of these things are already available for you to use. They might be new and some are upcoming. So what can you look forward to? I will be focusing on new organization profiles for organizations and universities, etc. I would also be sharing with you an upcoming functionality of having sustainable development goal informations on the org profiles that I will share with you, and also some information on how you can learn more about funding information and awarded grants on Scopus.com. And Bisan will be sharing some more things, and she will also be giving a few demos. Next slide, please, Bisan. Thank you. So we also wanted to share with you that Bisan and I are actually not the only product managers who work on Scopus.com. We also have Isabel Elena, and Yoshiko is a fearless leader of the product group. And this is also to say that you might have a lot of questions today that Bisan and I might not be able to answer with a lot of thoroughness. That's because we also have Isabel, Yoshiko, and Elena working on the product. But what we will ensure is that if you have a question that's not answered, we will take it to them and make sure that you do get an answer very, very soon. So just to keep that in mind. Next slide, please, Bisan. Perfect, thank you. So I'm very excited to share with you a new functionality, or rather a new page on Scopus.com, and that is the org profile page. Next slide, Bisan. So a lot of you might already be familiar with the org profile pages because this has been a central feature of Scopus.com, and on these profiles, you can learn a lot more about an organization's performance and document count, how it is structured, and what kind of work do they collaborate with other organizations and universities on. Recently, we have given it a new look, and in order to make it cleaner and prioritize the data that we have heard from librarians and research officers they would like to see on this page, we have made sure that that data looks cleaner, it's more accurate, and it is prioritized on the page. So currently this page is available in beta. So if you go to your organization profile page, you will be able to click on a banner that says try the new org profile, and you will be able to see it. This also gives you the opportunity to see the current page, compare it to the new page, and give us a lot of feedback in terms of, well, do you like it, or what else would you like to see on the page, or what is it that we are missing? So I do encourage everyone on the call to please go to the new page, check it out, and there is a small survey there that you can take and give us feedback on it. But in order to tell you again what has changed, so we have transferred all of the data from the current profiles to this new page, new profile page, and we have improved the design. So you will notice that it's much more cleaner and easier to navigate. And we have taken away and adjusted some of the metrics that were on the old page, which we had feedback that were confusing and not making a lot of sense. So we have made sure that the data on the page now gives you a lot more information about the organization. And as mentioned here, it is improved user experience. So while so you will be able to navigate much easier and find what you're looking for much easier. And also this page, because it is cleaner, gives us a chance to work on adding a lot more things. And we have so much on the roadmap coming this year. I will be sharing with you about SDGs on the next slide too, but we are going to add sustainable development goal and contributions from an organization to a sustainable development goals on these pages. So you can easily assess how the organization is doing on this specific metric and component. We also want to continue improving the data. So we want to add more things to the page, for example, alternate names and improve the collaboration and hierarchy information that's already available. We have heard it's helpful, but we also want to add more things here. So you can get very good data on the organization page at your tips all the time. We also want to add more performance metrics of how an organization is doing. This could be, for example, rankings, but also, as it is said here in the first point, the SDGs itself, we want to talk about impact. We want to talk about real life impact in terms of policy contributions and the impact of documents on our environment, etc. So we want to be able to give this information out so it's easily accessible on the profile pages. And finally, visualizations. We also want to make sure that all of this data that I'm sharing with you is easy to digest. So when you look at the page, you're very quickly able to assess these metrics instead of having to do any kind of manual processes to be able to, again, assess how the organization is performing on a specific metric. So this is the new org page. Again, I really hope that after this call, or maybe even during, you're checking it out right now, for you to give us feedback, because we're constantly improving on the profile page. So please do share feedback, and we will make sure that we take it into account as we build on this page further. With that, Bisan, could you move to the next slide, please? Perfect. So I did mention SDGs briefly on the last slide, but this is something that we are very excited about in 2023 to release. We are working on making SDG contributions available on the profile pages. And how this works is that we will be able to show how the documents that are associated with an organization contribute to the one of the 17 SDG goals. And you will also be able to see which goals the documents are associated with, as you can see on the right in the prototype. I do want to bring to attention that this is already something that's available on the document detail page. So if you're interested in a document and you search for it and you find it, if that document is contributing to any of the 17 SDGs, you will be able to see that on the document detail page. But why we want to bring it to the organization profile is because we want to make sure that you can easily assess on an organization level how the organization is doing in terms of contribution to the sustainable development goals. So it's already available on the document level, and now it will also be available within 2023 on the org profile, on the organization profile level. I again want to say that when we do release it, we will have a lot of surveys available for you to give us feedback, because we want to keep improving the functionality, want to make sure that it is helping you in terms of being able to assess an organization performance, or just learning more about what SDGs the organization is doing very well in, where we could improve. So when it is launched, I'm going to make sure that I share with Danishri so we can get more feedback on this feature. Next slide, Bisan. I see there is a question, and I do want to ask Danishri if we should be taking questions now, or do you prefer that we take them later?
Anything, whichever you prefer.
Okay, so before I move to the
yeah.
funder information, I will, there is a question in the chat, which says, do you have research materials on Action 13 climate action in Scopus? So I assume what this question means is that, do we have information on goal number 13? And I'm very happy to say that we have information on all 17 of the goals. So if there's a document that's contributing to a specific goal, any of the 17 goals, we will be able to showcase this both on organization profiles, but also on the document pages. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and I will do a little demo later how you can find these information as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Bisan. So now I will be sharing with you information on how you can learn more about funders and awarded grants. Please keep in mind that my colleague Elena is the superstar when it comes to all of the funding information. So, and also Isabel for awarded grants. So I will try to answer as many questions as possible, but please excuse me if I cannot give you too much information, but I will make sure that I get back to you on it. With that, the next slide, Bisan. So I have tried to divide the funding information into two sections. So one is how to learn or know more about how a paper or a research publication has been funded. And the other side, which will be in awarded grants, is to how to see how to get signals about research funding from an author's profile. So first, let's see about research funding, and then I will talk about author profiles and grant research. Grant awards, sorry. So in terms of learning more about how an article is funded, my colleagues' work has ensured that over 16 million articles on Scopus show funding information. On the right, you can see a screenshot of an article page, and on this page, there is a tab with funding details on the left. As you can see here, if you click on it, it will be able to give you information on the funding this research paper received. Thank you for that, Bisan. And in order to know where does this data come from, we wanted to be very thorough and make sure that that we are getting information from different sources. So the information comes from publicly available sources. So example is if you have NIH, you have UKRI, so we are getting information on the funding from publicly available sources. Like I said, you can find this on the document pages in the left. Could you move to the next slide? Bisan, next one. Thanks. So this is an example of what I mean when I say that we receive information from public sources. So we are able to track and scrape information about who the funder is for this paper, and we can add it. Or we add it on the document results pages. So if you go to the next slide, for example, you're able to see that this information about the MRC funder, which is reflected on a public documentation. Next slide, Bisan. Yeah, next one. is available here on scopus.com. So the text bubbles you saw in the previous slide about the funding number, the funding sponsors, etc. This is data that we gather from publicly listed sources. And this is how you can really learn about the kind of the sponsorship that was behind a research project. And this can give you indications, for example, of which kind of grants could you apply for, or which kind of funding opportunities are available for you if you're also researching in the same subject area of this paper. So it is not just knowing about the paper itself, but it's also forward thinking for your other projects. Thank you, Bisan. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah, so we have some, another cool thing about this is that you can also export this information. So maybe you're creating a directory for yourself of which kind of funding agencies could you reach out to, or just wanting to know, wanting to collect some data on different types of funding agencies funding such research. You're able to export this information, and specifically funding information, by selecting this, clicking on the export button, and then selecting the funding details or any other information you might need. And then you can download this as a CSV file, or you can take it to SciVal. So if you want to learn more about this data set, you can select this, take it to SciVal, and do further analysis on the data set, for example. But you can also download it for your personal computer file and do some analysis like that too. Next slide, Bisan. Yeah. So another thing I did want to share with you before I pass it on to Bisan is awarded grants. Before I share it with you, I want you to know that this is currently in a beta form, which means that it is not available to the whole world, because we are testing a lot of things. But the plan for 2023 is to expand and launch this functionality in more parts of the world. So keep that in mind. It's an upcoming feature. Next slide, Bisan. So awarded grants is a functionality via which you are able to see the grants an author was presented with and on the author profile. Could you go to the next slide, Bisan? Thank you so much. So as you see on the right-hand side, there is a profile of Gillian Banfield, and on the profile, there are different tabs, and one of the tabs is awarded grants. And if you click on it, you will be able to see what kind of grants were awarded to Gillian, and you can use this information for multiple ways. If you are interested in the similar sort of subject area fields that Gillian is interested in, you're aware of the kind of grants that are out there that you could apply for. Another thing that's cool is that it can help you with collaboration, because if you find out that, oh, Gillian is basically doing very, very similar research to what you want to pursue, and they're doing really well in terms of the grants that they have, or they have an existing grant that they can work with. So it's a good indicator for you to collaborate with them if you so please. Currently, we have the information for awarded grants for the US, and we are right now getting more data, as it's written here that the data is publicly available. So it's from the publicly available sources, same as the funder information that we saw for the documents. So this is publicly available sources. For now, we do not have this for the whole world, but we are doing a lot of beta testing and expanding as we speak. So again, as this awarded grants feature grows, as we get more feedback, as we improve, I will share with Danishri for when it's available globally. But again, it's a really cool feature for both collaboration, but also for you to plan your future research by being inspired by the kind of grants that are available for you. That's about it from me. And I think the next slide is already for Bisan. But before I move on, are there any questions on this?
Hi, Priyanka. There's none so far. I'm just checking on Facebook as well if there's any questions.
Perfect.
At the moment, no, nothing so far. So thank you so much. Please proceed.
Yeah, thank you. So I think I can move on to Bisan now. And again, I'm here. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A. And also maybe later to Danashri so we can get you some more information. So thank you for listening and on to my colleague Bisan.
All right, thank you, Priyanka. So let's do some breathing stretching before I start my presentation. Just to make sure everybody is with us. And I will set it up shortly. I will do a few demos as well. Let me know if you can hear me as I present. Share my screen. Right, can you see my screen?
I can see it and I can hear you clearly, Bisan. Thank
All
you.
right, let's get started then.
Hello again. And for the next 15 minutes or so, I'll take you on an overview tour. First stop is on how to identify keywords for document search. The second around Scopus advanced search and preload.
Bisan, I'm not sure if we can hear you
Query.
anymore.
And last, we'll end with our new researcher discovery pilot. On to our first topic, how to identify keywords for document search. Let's start really simple and begin with a prompt or a search topic. For our purposes today, our prompt will be, what are the ethical implications of nanotechnology for healthcare? Now, your next step is to identify key concepts in your prompt. Then use these key concepts to construct your search terms and eventually your query. As you can see here, we have three key concepts: ethical implications, nanotechnology, and healthcare. So to construct my search terms, I'm going to list any relevant term, keywords, or phrases I can think of for each key concept. Then I'll use booleans to bind my terms together. You can combine related terms with an or and sets of terms with an and. And for the cherry on top, I will do a little bit of cleanup to make my query more concise and relevant. For example, terms with common roots can be truncated. Similar concepts like health and medicine can be nested in parentheses to keep them together. And last, if I have an exact phrase like healthcare, I will add that within quotation marks. And now, voila, we have a beautiful draft of our first query. All that is left is to put it into the Scopus search field using field codes like the title apps key or not. And then perhaps refine and make it even more concise as we work with the query in the UI. Scopus and try this out. Scopus and try this out. Let's start by running a basic search. I'll run each concept in the title apps key field and add more fields as needed. I can add more fields and combine the fields with an and, or even change the field types if I want to. Right, let's click and run that search. If I toggle here, I can even run my search in advanced search. Let's click edit. Here you can use the field codes list on your right, or just the autocomplete to find the field you want. And before I do that, now if you don't specify a field, the query will run in all fields. But for the purpose of our demo today, let's use the title apps key, add our query in there, and run that search again. Once you're on the search result page, you can toggle between basic and advanced search. You can even edit the query. And then you can also show or hide abstracts. You can also sort or edit your string. Let's say we are sorting by relevance. Or even use filters to narrow down your results. And let's pick a filter here, let's say by keywords. Nanotechnology, if you want to see the whole list, you can say show all and limit to that keyword. There are other more filters you can use, but for our purposes today, let's stick with that one. And now let's click on a document for more details. If you scroll down here, you can find the relevant keywords of the article, which I'll talk about a little bit more later or in a few seconds. But these are really interesting because you can identify keywords per article, like author keywords, index terms, mesh terms. But for now, before I talk more about it, let's go back to our search results and see what else you can do. Yes, you can analyze the results and use visual filters, like the ones you see here. We have many, such as documents by affiliation, document by type. Let's click on documents by subject area. And here we have a visual representation of that filter, and you can clearly see Now back to the document details page. When we scroll down, we found some article level keywords. Let's say you want to make your results even more relevant by adding a few more specific keywords to your query. First, I can use advanced search to find the correct field code. And then I'll combine the new terms to make a new query, as you can see here. Now we have a new search query. Let's run it in Scopus. I'll run my old query first. Well, maybe I can grab it from my search history here. Then edit it in either basic or advanced search. For our purposes, I'll be using advanced search to edit this query. Now first I need to find the field codes. I'll combine with a Boolean and try to find my field codes. I can use the list to my right. You can see here keywords. Click on the field code that I want, add it to my search field, and then add my terms within each. Now let's add the other one. Yeah. And now I have my new updated query. Let's run this search again. Now, as you can see here, we have much more specific results. We have that one article, especially since we specified the keywords there in our query. And if you go to that article details page and scroll down to the keywords, you can see see them reflected directly here in the index terms and under the author key. Now on to the next stop. We have Scopus Advanced Search and the preloaded STGs queries.
Bisan, if I can stop you for a second. While I can hear you perfectly and see your screen, I am seeing in the chat that the screen is blurred or they can't hear you. So I'm not sure because I can see you and hear you perfectly. So it might be local issues, but just letting you know if in case it's anything on your end.
So anybody else can see my screen or had problems seeing the previous presentation?
I can see it as well, but yeah, it's visible. It's just not sharp, like the comment in the chat, and the audio is a little bit low. But you can proceed. I think it's fine to follow. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can. The program I'm using is a bit funny, so maybe I can just get out of PowerPoint and try to do it without the program that simulates the demo. 1 second.
Thanks, Bisan.
No problem. Let me just do the slides here. Share this one. Okay.
Now on to the next.
Just give me a
Stop.
second.
We have Scopus Advanced Search and the preloaded.
All right, that's what you get for trying to be fancy. Nothing works. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
And you can hear me better, I guess. Okay, so I guess I will start with our next stop. We have Scopus Advanced Search and the preloaded SDG queries. I'll move on to this one.
All right, let's start with a quick definition.
Okay, I'm sorry. My presentation just totally crashed, so just give me 1 second. This is not working out.
Sustainable Development Goals, SDG. All right, let's start with a quick definition. United Nations Sustainable Development. All right, let's start with a quick definition. United Nations.
All right, so I will talk about the SDGs for Scopus, the preloaded queries SDGs. And the way you would find them in Scopus is you would go to your scopus.com, Let's say you land on the home page, and then you would run your search query from advanced search. And this is our old one. So if I delete this one and I scroll all the way down, you can see under the dropdown all the sustainable goals for 2020. And let's say you want to pick the first SDG, which is no poverty, and once you click on that, the pre-generated query is populated in your search field and you can search for it. One thing to note here is that for Scopus, we only have 16 out of the 17 SDGs preloaded into Scopus. And the new SDGs for the 2023 are currently updated and available, but not under the advanced search. They are under the document details, and I will show you where that is later. So let's just run an SDG here. You have your SDG results. You can filter, update the query, same as I described before. Add or edit new fields, basic, advanced. And let's say you want to sort by relevance, and I will go into one of the documents details. So if I go in here, let's say I pick this one. And if I scroll down a little bit, I can see here under this panel tab, if I expand the dropdown, I can see how many SDGs are mapped to this article. So if an article doesn't have any SDGs mapped to it, you will not see this panel. And if it does, you will see it. And as you can see here, we have the latest uploaded, which are the 2023. These, you need to run them manually. So you copy and paste that query and run it. If you want to use the ones currently available, pre-generated, preloaded onto Scopus, they are the 2020, not the 2023. And as you can see, this article, for example, has the no poverty SDG 1, 8, and 10. And a little bit something cool here. If you click on one of the SDGs, you can actually read a little bit about it and even analyze it in Scival. And it gives you a lot more details about this particular goal. Key phrase analysis, large topic clusters analysis, and much more. You can go a little bit more into detail in Scival as well. And now to find the SDGs or the latest SDGs, they are currently on Digital Commons, and I will kind of try to show you how to find them. So a quick search, just go to Scopus FAQs, maybe try to find it from there. And if you click here, you can read all about the SDGs. And then, how are they mapped? If you want to read about the methodology, as I said, you can go to Digital Commons. And this is the first, these are the 2022 SDGs. You can click here, read about the query, the methodology, how is it generated, copy and paste the query or download it. And much more. So just to reiterate, if you want to run an SDG, the ones currently available on the Scopus Advanced Search are the 2020 SDGs. If you want to run the latest one, let's say 2022 or 2023, you would need to go, so these guys are 2022. If you want to run the latest, you would need to go to Digital Commons, download that one, and then run it by copy and pasting that query. And I will stop here for a little bit to see if you have any questions.
Thanks, Bisan. There was a few questions, but I have answered them in the chat box to save some time. Yeah, you can proceed.
All right. So since my beautiful presentation fell apart, I will go in and demonstrate the researcher discovery blind. So this one is our newest pilot. And it's pretty cool because it allows researchers to build their network and connect with different researchers to collaborate or expand on certain topics or research field or area. And I will show you how that works. Say if this one's
Listen, you want to click on basic search. Yeah, there you go.
there we go. So I am right here, Scopus homepage. And to access our pilot, it's under this tab, Researcher Discovery. And
Sorry, Bisan, I do want to add that
Yeah.
researcher discovery, since it is also in beta, it is something that's not available globally yet. So this is one of the biggest things that we Isabel, our colleague, is working on making it global within this year. So just keep that in mind that you might not see this tab because it's not globally available yet, but it's upcoming. Thank you. Sorry, continue, Bisan.
no problem, correct. So what Priyanka said is correct. So the tab is available only to a small group, internal users and a certain external users who are participating in this pilot. So as Priyanka mentioned, if you actually would like to participate in this pilot, you can shoot us an email or let us know, and we can help you see this tab on your UI. But let's say you see this tab and you are participating in one of these pilots. You'll go on your homepage and it's in a tab, Researcher Discovery. And what you would do is you would enter your keywords. You can use a topic, an area, a subject. I'm going to use the keywords I used from the beginning, which is about nanotechnology implications in healthcare. Right, so that's what I'm interested in. I'll just enter a search here. And I get a results page with a bunch of researchers in here. What I can do is I can edit my search. I can sort as usual, and I also can refine by year span, country, organization. One thing to note here is that the results are only matching on the documents since 2007 for this pilot, so anything older is not included yet. So besides all these nifty little things you can do here, like export, what I can do is I can view the author profile. And I can get little snippets about the author and relevant information like view all documents, matching documents, or I can even go to the full profile here. And once I am here on the author's profile, I can dig a little bit more, see if I am in tune with this author. Do I want to collaborate? Do I want to add him to my network? I can see all the documents this author has related to my search, cited by. I can even see if he has any preprints, any novel search he's working on. This guy doesn't have any yet, but if he does, they will be listed here. Co-authors, topics, any topics of interest he's focusing on. And then any awarded grants as well. And that's about it for this one. Any questions for researcher discovery? Or the previous slide or presentation that I had?
Seems like there's no questions, Bisan.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just checking on Facebook as well to see if there's any further questions. Okay. So thank you so much, Bisan and Priyanka, for your presentations on the new features on Scopus. These are important features that definitely impact academics and researchers alike, and will definitely contribute to productivity in enabling them to find the content that they need faster. So I did get some questions in the chat box about getting access to Scopus. Someone has posted a link for University of Ghana, but generally, if you do not have access to Scopus, you should check with your university librarian. In most cases, you would have access. You just may not be aware that you had access to this tool. And the librarian will direct you on how to find it. Generally speaking, in most of the universities, it is on the A to Z database list under S for Scopus. So to the participants that are here, many of you, from some of the questions, you may not have been familiar with the database before. We do have a free resource that we can share with you, which is called the Africa Researcher Success Portal. And I'm going to share my screen with you now and show you what you can find on this resource. The link will also be copied into the chat box. I'll put it in now. Feel free to share this. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. Feel free to share this with colleagues. And if you are also a lecturer or professor and you need to use any of these webinars or resources, they are free for you to reuse as well. So the Africa Researcher Success Portal has the following tabs available: upcoming webinars, where you will find a list of the webinars that we will be hosting for researchers that are in Africa. These are local webinars, and you have full access to them. So you can pick the topics that you like and register for them. Remember to download the calendar reminder so that you know when they are. Under resources and support, you will be able to find a full Scopus product training, a webinar on the Scopus author profiles, harnessing your Scopus author profile and updating your Scopus author profile. Now, we do stress this point of author profiles because it's very important to researchers that they have all of their publications indexed under their profile, because it impacts their metrics as an author, the H index, and their profile as a whole, which is visible by ranking institutions, by funders, and by the university. So there's quite a few resources on this. You also have these downloadable PDF guides on Scopus and Science Direct, like how to construct a successful literature search, a bit of which was touched on by Bason today, when she mentioned about the Boolean operator searches, and learning about research metrics is very important as well, how to evaluate authors, journals, articles, using research metrics. So all of these are freely accessible to you. If you are a librarian, we do have accredited training available for you on research data management, as well as certified training for managing the changing role of a librarian, and promoting the library and its resources under the Library Connect Academy. Last year's recordings of the Researcher Toolbox can be found under recorded webinars. So you just find the topic of interest. For example, if you wanted to learn about predatory journals, you just click on Explore, and you will find the webinar recordings of the discussions on predatory journals. On the SDGs, for instance, you'll find it here. So do take note of the website that I've put into the chat box, right? And do save it as a bookmark and share it with your colleagues. You also have full access to another resource called the Researcher Academy, which is a free resource that teaches early to mid-career researchers all about publishing. And you sign into this resource using your Scopus or Science Direct username and password. Once you've signed in, let me share the link as well in the chat box. You can take note of this resource as well. Once you have signed in, you have access to all of these e-learning modules that will teach you all about hot topics in publishing. So if you're interested in publishing an article or a book chapter, you'll find lots of information here. So for example, there's a technical writing skills course, there's a certified peer reviewer course, ensuring social impact and the publication process. There's a course on ethics. And as you complete these courses, you will receive a certificate from Elsevier to say that you have completed the course. So you can use those certificates for your CVs, for example, to say, for instance, you've done a course on ethics. But a very important course is the peer reviewer course, because we would like to help researchers to become peer reviewers, to promote the visibility of peer review in Africa. So it's important to promote these resources as well. If you're a person at the university that supervises researchers, you can also ask them to complete these courses and request for the certificate of completion. So let's look at how the course on ethics looks, for instance. So it's 7 modules and each one is of different duration. And as well as you do get some resources as well and guides to support your learning journey. Okay, once you've completed the course, this is what your certificate can look like. I'm just going to sign into my profile. Okay, so now I'm signed in. This is my profile.
Tanushree, I think you have to click on that, yeah, the little figure. Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm wondering why it's not taking me to my profile. Thank you. So here you'll find all of the certificates. So these are the ones that I've completed. And if I open it, I can download the PDF. And this is pretty much what it looks like. Okay, so those are the 2 free resources that you have access to. And remember, whenever you are on Scopus or Science Direct, you want to make sure that you are signed in. It allows the products to remember you as a user, look at what you have researched, what you've read, what you've other researchers like you have read, and provide you with more tailored recommended reading, which saves you a lot of time as a researcher to find relevant content, as the product will begin to act as a partner in research for you and recommend reading that is relevant to you. And we know that 1 in 3 of those recommendations are actually utilized by researchers. So whenever you are on Scopus or Science Direct, be sure to sign into the platform. Okay, so just to recap on some of the demonstrations that were discussed today, the speakers did discuss the SDG search strings, and you find that under the advanced search on Scopus. When you scroll to the bottom of the page, you will see pre-generated queries. Click on the drop down, and then any of the 16 SDGs that's available, you click on them, and it will load the preloaded search string for you. So you don't have to create your own Boolean search string. You can just click on the SDG and find the research. So any article or document on Scopus that is matching this SDG will now be part of the search results here. And there's a lot, so you can always filter this by using your filtering options on the left-hand side and make it a little bit more specific to what you are looking for. Another part of what was discussed today is on actual articles. You'll be able to see when a particular article matches a matches the SDG. Okay, this is a very new article, so we've got SciVal topics. Let me go back and find a little bit of okay, let me click on this one. Right, so if you click on SDG, it tells you which one it matches. So this particular article matches goal number 8. And you find some other interesting metrics on the article as well, like the citations, the views. And this article was cited by these articles, which leads you to even more content in that way. We looked at author profiles and what has been updated on an author profile. If you click on view full profile, you will be able to now see on author profiles the funding information, preprints. So if the author has any awarded grants, as she explained earlier, this is a new feature and it's still being uploaded. It will be available here. Preprints are documents that have not been peer reviewed yet, but they are the latest publications from this author, the co-authors that this author has worked with, and the topics that this author has contributed to. So when you look at these topics through learning about metrics, you will be able to understand how well cited this topic is when it is compared to topics from documents of a similar nature. Okay, so here's the H index as well for the author. And some of the new features that will soon be available is also the researcher discovery tab, which is here, which you can then find researchers by a topic. So if you're looking for a particular researcher, like if I search for HIV and South Africa, it'll bring up researchers that have published in this particular topic. As you can see, this is one of them. And if I preview the profile, I'll be able to see more documents from the author. Okay, I see some questions in the chat box. Okay, and right. So yes, the recording will be shared on that page, which I demonstrated earlier, the Africa Researcher Success Portal. If you need to go over it at your own pace, you'll find it there. It will be uploaded by next week. So you'll be able to get a copy of that, as well as you will receive a link to download your certificate of attendance for this training session. I see no further questions in chat, so I do encourage you to go to the Researcher Success Portal. And if you haven't ever attended a full Scopus product training, do try it, because it can give you insights into finding a topic, the citability of the topic, finding appropriate journals to publish in, analyzing journals, analyzing authors, finding collaborators, analyzing the document output in a topic. So it really helps you to identify gaps, know where you can contribute to research, as well as make good decisions in research that are backed by metrics and findings. So thank you very much to our two presenters for their time today in explaining all of these new and exciting features to us. And thank you to the attendees for coming through and supporting this series. I do hope to see you in the future sessions, which will be hosted in the Researcher Toolbox series. So just as a reminder about the Researcher Toolbox series, I just want to share our next session with you. You should receive this invite to the series, which is a different one, by next week. We should be emailing all of our attendees. You'll get a document like this. And what you can do with this document is you can select as well the sessions you want to register for and attend the ones that's of interest to you. So we are here advancing your research process. On the 22nd of May, I will be doing a full Science Direct training session. So I do hope to see you there. Any journal editors, we will be hearing from one of the Content Selection and Advisory Board chair members about the selection criteria of Scopus. We'll be discussing diversity and inclusion in science, the World University Rankings, understanding the importance of foundational content, that is book content, and the pillars of open science. So we have 2 sessions per month. I hope to see you in future sessions, and I wish you a good afternoon forward. Thanks, everyone.